Dandavat pranams to all of the devotees. We are live from the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram in SoCal, California, aka also known as Santa Cruz. Welcome to tonight's evening broadcast, brought to you by the Maha Brihat Mridanga, the internet, our space and platform for sharing about bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness, all over the world, no matter where we are. I am going to Dandavat. Welcome, everyone's tuning in. My name is Vaidehi Devidasi, and I live here at the SoCal Seva Ashram. I grew up here, actually. I've been living here since I was a little girl. And I just wanted to, I'm on a different tripod today, so forgive me as I fumble about. I'm just trying to turn the camera. Wow, definitely not intuitive. So there we go, so that I can show you the parampara. Here we are. Gurva Bista Supurakam Guru Ganeda Shisha Sambhushitam Chintya Samastavera Nipunam Shri Rupa Pantanugam Govinda Biramujvalam Varatanum Bhakti Anvidam Sundaram Bande Vishwa Gurun Chadivya Bhagavat Prem Nohi Bija Pradam. Putting in my ear pods. I just want to make sure. Just testing the mic if you can hear me. If you can hear me, please go ahead and let some emojis loose. I just want to make sure you can hear me. I just switched to my ear pods. And we've just chanted the pranam mantra of Srila Govinda Maharaj. And let's continue to Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chilanchitam Sandrananda Puram Shad Ekavaranam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Shri Siddhanta Nidim Subhakti Lashitam Saraswatanam Varam Vandetam Shubharam Mare Kasharanam Nyasishwaram Shri Dharam. And to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Shri Siddhanta Saraswati ti vidito gudiya gurvan vaye bhatto bhanudiva prabhatta kagane yogaura sankirtanai maya varatimingilo daragatan udritya jivaniman Krishna prema sudabdi kahana shukam prabhum tam bhaje. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gauda Bhakta Vrinda. And together, Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Three more, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the deities are Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhariju. They are currently receiving the offering from the devotees. Dinner time here. They have, I think, just had their dinner, and I'm sure the curtain will be opening shortly, but I just wanted to give you the lay of the land here. And look at the beautiful flowers, the beautiful vases decorated by the ladies. And as you can see, we have some little decorations here. We just celebrated Sri Gaura Purnima last night here at the temple and had a nice kirtan and anukalpa feast, and today we celebrated as well the grain ceremony of Nimai Pandit. Okay, so hello Indupati from the Philippines, and who else is here? Ivan Indupati, Rasangi, Marco, Dandavat Pranams, and whoever else is watching. If you're watching, just say hello. Feel free to drop an emoji and comment, and then I can see who's here. So the last couple of weeks we talked about, where is the camera? Okay, it's over here. The last couple of weeks we talked about Audarya, this mood of magnanimity and of distribution. And, you know, I think it's one of my favorite topics, second to the topic of transcendental sound vibration. And I wanted to also speak about Audarya this week, just because the festivities of Gaura Purnima have come to a close today. And if there's any festival that represents this mood of Audarya, it is definitely Shri Gaura Purnima. So I wanted to follow along that thread of conversation because, again, I think it's a very, very important mood and concept, this mood of distribution, magnanimity, and really introspection, and this concept of really studying oneself and recognizing when we are being misers. And luckily for us, we have such great examples of this mood of magnanimity in our Guru Varga and in the devotees. They are unparalleled in their mood, and they are a great example, and it comes from a very, profound place, what they are exemplifying. It is not a show, it is not just, lip service, but it is really a posture. It is like a state of being. It is an asan, right? It's like this eternal mudra, whatever word you want to use. It is an expression that they are exemplifying. And I was remembering several things that I wanted to share about the Gaura Purnima festivities and just how magnanimous and how powerfully it's like, could there be more abundance and more abundant distribution of the chanting of the holy name, right? Walking through all the different islands in Navadvip, singing and chanting the whole way, on a boat, on a bus, on the roof of a bus, on foot, on a rickshaw, on a bicycle, just chanting the whole time. And how auspicious that is. And of course, it's auspicious for the environment. I mean, Navadvip Dham is blessing us, really. But obviously, we hear about this, Gyata and Agyata Sukriti, and whether it's, Namabas, shadow name, or Shuddhanam, pure name, this holy name is so powerful and magnanimous. And it, from what I've understood, it can literally transform somebody's path, somebody's soul path by hearing it. What a powerful vibration. Just as if you were to be exposed to nuclear waste, your life would completely also change because you would be exposed to such toxicity that is so lethal, right? Sorry to take it there, but in the inverse, the holy name is so powerful that it cannot but affect and transform one's life. And, this practice of going on pilgrimage through the celebration leading up to Shri Gaura Purnima is an opportunity for us to taste and experience that mood of distribution. And what's really beautiful is that I got to kind of have glimpses of that during this celebration here at the Sokel Seva Ashram. And, we've all been in a global pandemic, and not a lot of people can really come to the temple, or at least here, at once. And, as far as I know, last night, the Gaura Purnima celebration was the most abundant celebration we've had in a very long time, with, full kirtan and full room parking lot, prasadam hall of devotees, and this, magnanimity, right? This magnanimous mood of prasad distribution and kirtan and Gaura Katha going on. And we haven't experienced that. We've been in a drought, in not a drought of Gaura Katha, because Srila Janardhan Maharaj has maintained, he keeps this flame lit with his classes, and so do all of, our acharyas and devotees who are, there assisting with keeping the vibration of this Krishna Katha going on the planet, which is great. But wow, we really experienced that, Gaura Purnima and the mood of Audarya completely revealing itself after so many months of drought and of not having an abundance of devotees here in the temple. So how many of you got to celebrate Gaura Purnima in your hometown, in your home temples, or in your homes, right? I'm sure several of you got to experience this in some way or another, whether you were in congregation at a temple or at home or with your family or even alone. If you took the time to celebrate, you know, and chant a little bit, some expression of magnanimity and heart-opening opportunity was definitely there. And I very much could say that all of the devotees that were here were so happy chanting. Like, I haven't seen all the devotees jumping in the temple room in so long. It almost felt like the old times, right? And I know that as devotees were leaving, everyone was talking about how it felt like Gurudev was here. It really felt like Srila Govinda Maharaj was here, and everybody was so happy. And so in keeping that spirit, you know, how can we keep that spirit every day? And as I was thinking about this, it's like, well, this, you know, grand celebration must continue in the heart, in the minds of every man, woman, and child, right? As Saraswati Thakur said. And so it is our responsibility to continue that feasting and chanting of the holy name, and, you know, choosing, rather than, you know, sitting there prajalpaing and gramya kathaing, like, you know, speaking gossip or of other people, how can we use our tongue and our time to speak not about other people and, you know, things that aren't really evolving us, but how can we spend our time speaking transcendental sound vibration, and also paying attention to the mind and what it wants to do and go, and how do we align it and keep it on track. And so, you know, in this material world, there are the ebbs and flows of happiness and distress, the ebbs and flows of, you know, cold and heat and pleasure and pain, and there's constantly this up and down happening. And today was a day where I felt like a very low energy, and just feeling a bit kind of like, oh, okay, like I keep knocking things over, and it's just one of those days where it didn't feel great. And so I was thinking about this mood of Audarya, and how, oh, hold on, I hear a bell. Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Goranga Kandarika Hirit Hari Joki Jai. Yeah, right as he opened the curtain. So it's like this mood of Audarya, if we look, will continue to reveal itself in our hearts, but we just have to be looking for it. And that's really what I want to say. One of the main points is that flipping the channel, right? We can be in scarcity. We can be feeling bereft. We can be feeling whatever, envy, anger, gossip. All these things are always going to be there, especially when we don't have, you know, maybe the best association or the best mindset or whatever, it doesn't matter. And we can choose to, okay, let that go through us, and okay, the upset, let it pass through, and then flip the channel. And so today I found myself thinking about this mood of magnanimity and remembering Siddhanti Maharaj. If any of you know Siddhanti Maharaj, you know his mood was just ever giving, ever giving, ever giving, like so many of our amazing devotees. But I was particularly remembering him because there was this moment that I experienced, this mood of scarcity, and I quickly learned a lesson, and I wanted to share that with you. So I was thinking about him in this story today. And I'll tell the story in just a moment, just a quick story, but realizing that we get to choose what track we are on mentally, and what track we are on with how we use our speech and communication. And so this mood of Audarya, of magnanimity, and this celebration of the holy name, this celebration of, wow, you know, the grand divine Sankirtan movement can continue, and we can keep choosing it. We can continue to choose to tune into that reality. And so something that I did today to help myself go from feeling frustrated about little things to like letting it roll off my back and just being present was simply expressing gratitude for everything that I have and for everything that is. Like, I literally began doing this exercise of, I'm grateful for the sun, I'm grateful for the tree, I'm grateful for that bird that just flew over this, the sky. I'm grateful for my car. I'm grateful for Srila Janardhan Maharaj. I am grateful for this temple. I'm grateful for Govinda Maharaj. I am grateful for Gaura Purnima, right? I just began stating everything that I was grateful for, anything I could see. I'm grateful for whatever, like the car that just cut me off. I'm grateful. So beginning this practice of, rather than going into scarcity and feeling bereft and feeling upset, how can we exercise the muscle of gratitude, right? And that muscle of gratitude, I feel, is a good muscle to be flexing and working so that we can continue seeing from a different vision, from a perspective of, every wave is favorable, or from everything is abundant. Everything is already here, right? The center is everywhere. And if we could really just stop and recognize that at every moment, and especially those moments where we get lost, then we can remain present to the abundance that is, to the magnanimity that is already existing. I'm grateful for the fact that I can breathe. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for this body, right? I'm grateful for my eyesight. So just feeling and allowing, and sure, very beginner kind of thought, but coming back to that space. And what I have found is that when we come to that space, then it becomes harder to feel separation, it becomes harder to develop this groove of fault finding. It becomes harder to do all these things. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't see injustices. It doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries. It doesn't mean that we allow things that are inappropriate to happen, right? But it means that we're choosing a different reality and a higher perspective. And even going as so far as to, this is a personal practice, and, this is my personal practice, and I'd love to share it with you, but it's like, whatever it is that's happening in your life, offering it to the divine and praying for a solution, right? When you feel lost, bereft, confused, lost, right? Scarcity, all of these things. Take that in the mood of being present to it, and in the mood of humility, and in the mood of abundance. Like, my Lord is abundant, and my Lord is here with me, and my Lord cares, and I care too. So I'm going to engage in offering even this challenge or this difficulty before me and pray for that solution. And I very much would say that that's also very magnanimous and abundant thinking, because rather than feeling lost and bereft and in that mood of scarcity, we are turning to the reservoir of bliss, of happiness, of joy, of yoga, right? Of all of the things that Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Guru Gauranga are. And when we know that we have that there's never any question of scarcity or loss, because our Lord, Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, our lordships are ever abundant and resplendent, and so on and so forth. So any apparent challenge, obstacle, scarcity is really a course correcting opportunity. It's an opportunity for course correcting your path, for defining your path, and for continuing to align with a path that is more in the mood of what our lineage is representing, this mood of magnanimity and of knowing that, my Lord has my back. And that's such a beautiful feeling, right? Having confidence in the Lord's protection, confiding in the Lord, and as a friend. Obviously, we have the Vaishnavas as well. If you have friends that you can share, but that right there is, the practitioner's like training wheels for going in the mood of Audarya, right? Or for even connecting to that mood. It begins with checking oneself and offering oneself and course correcting one's own train of thought. And yes, the mind is more difficult to control than the wind, but at the same time, that's why we have kirtan and transcendental sound vibration, because it simply puts the mind on a track. And the holy name is what becomes the engaging factor. And that is so purifying, right? Krishna Katha, the holy name, that in itself can align and engage the mind, right? We don't want to try to control the mind and renounce and all of these things, but we simply want to find a higher engagement. And so these are little things that I do to try to align the mind with a different vibration. Sure, I get upset at things. There's people that I really don't vibe with and things that I really don't agree with, because they may not be what I feel is a certain mood or a certain good vibration or whatever it is. But that doesn't really matter as long as I can take my attention to that higher plane and have that purify the perception and clean up whatever contaminating forces come with that stream of thinking. And so here's the little story that I wanted to tell with Siddhanti Maharaj, who, by the way, was always dressed so shabby and with holes in his clothing, yet at the same time he gave so much of his wealth to the mission. He was supremely abundant, actually. He was very abundant, yet he dressed as if he weren't, right? But his mood was magnanimous and abundant and ever giving, and always in this kind of example of serving and taking care of the devotees, which is, what I've seen is the beginning of so much abundance. And I've seen Madhusudan Maharaj doing this in Navadvip Dham, right? When he would take care of all of the devotees visiting, such an abundant, ever-giving force. And that abundant, ever-giving force of serving and caring for the devotees naturally generated so much more abundance and love from the devotees, because he presented that and really exemplified Gurudev's mood of care and affection for the devotees. And it's such a beautiful exchange to see, and it's a cozy, heartwarming feeling, right? That home comfort feeling of feeling protected and gotten, like, yes, like my spiritual community and friends and sannyasis and acharyas, they have my back. I'm not alone. I'm not shelterless. I'm not homeless, because the devotees, Krishna, I feel safe, right? They have my back. And so it's been such a wonderful, I've had such a wonderful time remembering these devotees. And I just remember this one little story. I was living in Santa Cruz for the first time, outside of the temple for the first time in my life, for like a summer with some devotees in a household, and here in Santa Cruz. And I had just, made myself this fresh squeezed apple, carrot, ginger juice. And I had gone through all the work of juicing it and squeezing it and, all the things and cleaning everything up. And I was about to sit down and enjoy my fresh squeezed juice while the enzymes were still fresh. And then Siddhanti Maharaj just appeared in our backyard, which is like illustrious in and of itself. But my mood went to scarcity. I thought, I only made one and I just cleaned everything up, and I can't not offer it to him, but I really want to drink this juice. And right as I was even questioning whether I should give it to him or whether, what I should do, but my mood was leaning more on the selfish side, I'm not going to give this juice up. I'm about to drink I just made my juice and worked for it, and I really want to drink it. Right when I was feeling that close-hearted miserliness, ugh, my juice like somehow got knocked down in a glass cup, and the glass shattered and the juice spilled everywhere, and it was gone. And I was like, immediately I understood, ooh, like never question giving to the Vaishnav who is ever abundant, who is like a wish fulfilling tree, like walking wish fulfilling tree. Don't you ever question serving the Vaishnav and giving them something and making them feel at home and welcomed. And I like the second the cup was like in slow motion falling, I understood that my lesson was learned, and I immediately understood what was happening because I knew he loved this kind of juice. And so I immediately understood that without a doubt, I was about to make 2 more cups, and now I was going to show up properly and offer him a cup and myself one. And I can't remember the rest of the story if we sat down and had our juice. But that little moment right there was everything. That little moment right there was everything. I watched my mind shrivel up in scarcity and in like this like laziness to want to like do all that work again, like question whether I wanted to share it with him or not. I'm like, whoa, like just even thinking about it, it's like, how much would I give to offer Siddhanti Maharaj a cup of fresh squeezed apple carrot ginger juice right now? Okay. And so, yes, that little thought right there was everything to me. And I very much understood from that moment onwards that there's never a question about, you know, being of service to the devotees, or even, you know, to others in general. I kind of watched a little bit of this experience yesterday with a group of friends. We were celebrating some, you know, graduation and semester completion with a group of friends, and I had a big canister of water, and I noticed one of the young men in the group, they were saying, I am so thirsty. I'm so thirsty, as I was drinking water. And I did not want to share my water because of all the COVID things. And I thought, so I, you know, had a little extra cup and I served it, and I told them to waterfall it, right, and not touch the mouth. But, you know, these little moments where we can be misers and be selfish and self-absorbed and self-centered, and not be thinking, you know, outside of the box, not be thinking about how can we be together in this mood of abundance? How can we be together in this mood of giving and celebration? And it begins with self, right? With yourself showing up and thinking these magnanimous thoughts. I thank you for all the little hearts and things that I see coming through. So nice. I hope this is resonating. It's, you know, a simple conversation and topic that I've been thinking about, but I really wanted to share these thoughts with you because that's really, you know, where it begins. Krishna consciousness is, you know, many things, and everyone's speaking about all of the wonderful things that is comprised of, you know, that make up Krishna consciousness. And I feel like here's one little other thread, is this mood of magnanimity, but it starts within ourselves, and being mindful of when are we feeling this closing experience, this, you know, I think in Mexico, this expression codo, which means like elbow, like tight, you know, it's like tight fists and like not wanting to give. And how can we go into that mood of giving? And, you know, we've heard about Srila Sridhar Maharaj saying, just give something, practice giving something. Even if you give ash, give something. And that's what I was speaking of, the gratitude practice, right? Like when you have those sour days where the, you know, ebbs and flows of the material energy, you know, the negative flow gets you. It's like just a little practice of giving, a little alignment into the mood of magnanimity, a little example or story. What can you do to realign the mind? Obviously, we have the chanting of the holy name, okay? But, you know, we're not an impersonalist practice. And it's very important to know thyself and to understand, you know, what's going on inside you and why and where it's coming from, and to find ways that work for you to keep the healthy consciousness. So that's one piece of the Audarya thing that I wanted to talk about. It's just the mood of magnanimity, and it begins with, hey, like, start by expressing gratitude, start by seeing the good, by pointing out the good things. It's so easy to see the negative things. And I'm not saying they're not there and, everything's perfect, but I'm saying, how can we find those good things and positive things, align with that? And then we have the examples of our acharyas and their mood, right? Like in our Govinda Maharaj's Pranam mantra, this Prem Nohi Bija Pradam, right? He is giving this seed of bhakti. He is giving everybody this seed of bhakti, and he's giving this to the whole world. So what is his mood? His mood is giving, even as he was not feeling well, right? Always magnanimous, always speaking kindly, always, giving his darshan, his resplendent, his vibration is incredible, right? Any of you that have been around him, or if you've felt some home comfort and nurturing from hearing his talks or hearing about him, that's what it's like to be in his presence. It's completely magnanimous and present, and really like giving honor to the person, not ignoring and holier than thou and all of these things. He's very kind and very present, and that's what makes him, who he is, Paramahamsa. When he's here, so many people are naturally attracted, right? Because he is exemplifying this mood of magnanimity. He is holding this mood of magnanimity. And, often they say like, oh, in the material world, everybody's like a little wannabe Krishna. Everyone's trying to be a little wannabe Shiva. Like everyone's trying to like be so powerful. Well, I would say being a wannabe little Govinda Maharaj would be great, right? Like what did we like about him, and how can we not imitate, but how can we meditate on that quality and pray for that quality within our own minds and our own hearts? And so I definitely felt that Gaura Purnima was this opportunity to receive blessings, because we don't necessarily see this, but we hear Erupa Aroti Brahma Shambhu Agochara Gaura Bhakta Kripa Patra Matra Siddhisara. So it's like where this arati is going on, this worship of Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, okay? And let's just get down to the point. This celebration of Gaura Purnima, like all of these grand personalities that we can't even see, like the seen and unseen, known and unknown, are present there as well. You better believe it, right? Like, first of all, this room was filled last night with so many devotees. Like, devotees are not ordinary beings, so there's one divine presence that's manifesting, all of the devotees coming together. There's the holy name being chanted, there's their lordships, and then all the unseen personalities that are also present for this magnanimous celebration. And so, honestly, this, the mood of abundance and magnanimity and mercy and the highest, most potent medicine, we're celebrating the advent of the person that came to give that. There cannot but be all sorts of blessings floating around in the ether. So what a special day to be self-reflecting, what a special day to be chanting, what a special day to be remembering and wishing and praying for these divine opportunities and qualifications to engage in the chanting of the holy name. So, intoxicated with that mood and that feeling, I grabbed Bimala. And Bimala, if you don't know Bimala is one of our devotees here, and she is such an amazing preacher and speaker. In fact, I think everyone should hear her speak, because whenever I speak with her, she like opens up a layer of something that I didn't realize, and always helps me. She makes me feel so seen and heard, and she also opens this channel of a new insight from her own experience and realization. It's like transmitted through her. She's such a beautiful devotee and so in the mood of magnanimity, okay? Like so magnanimous. Also like my mom, Kalindi, so magnanimous, always giving, always serving, always smiling, dancing, happy, right? Unless you really mean and yell at them, then they're not very happy. But, you know, like they are just so beautiful all the time. And you barely see them feeling upset because they're just so tolerant. And Bimala is always asking everybody to dance and to chant. And so she was here last night inviting everybody to dance and chant. And we were all dancing together, all the ladies, and all the men were singing as well and dancing and chanting. And so after the kirtan and prasadam time, I said, Bimala, we must go to Srila Janardana Maharaj and pray for some blessings because the air is thick with blessings today. And she was like, oh, let's do it. Like she was ready to go. And then one of the other children heard us and he was like, whatever you're doing with Srila Janardana Maharaj, I'm in. And so we all held hands and charged at Janardana Maharaj. And we said to him, today is a very special day filled with blessings. And we ask, will you please bless us? And he looked at us like, okay, you guys are kind of crazy. And we asked, will you please bless us and bless us that we will always be in the business of chanting the holy name. May we always be in the market of distributing the holy name. And then we threw ourselves at his feet, very dramatic. And he was blessing us and also told us that we were intoxicated by the prasadam, which was true. And then I feel like my day was complete. We got the blessings of Srila Janardana Maharaj, I hope. And I had some friends to do it with me. So I'm curious, you know, what blessings are you calling in? And the reason I ask this is because I can't remember who had told me this, but who had told me this? When I lived in Navadvip, somebody had mentioned this, you know, sometimes we're praying and we don't even have the desire for these qualifications. We don't even have the desire for devotion, right? We don't even know what that is. And so I remember somebody saying to me, pray to want to have devotion. Pray to want to serve the devotees. And I remember being in Kolkata and looking at the deities there. Is it Madana Mohanju? I'm trying to remember the name of the deities in Dum Dum Park. And oh, it's in the book. Let's remember their names. Well, is it in the book actually? Yes, it is. Kolkata. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Madana Mohanju in Kolkata, Dum Dum Park. Beautiful deities. I remember standing before them and praying like, I don't have any true desire for devotion. I pray to have the desire, to want the desire to have devotion, right? So I would pray like this while I was living there, just like something, you know, anything over here, right? So when we're before the deity, obviously we're not trying to pray for material things and whatnot, but you know, we definitely want to become proper recipients of this mood of the holy name, of Krishna Katha, Gaura Katha, of cleansing our minds and our prejudices and our separate interests and our party spirit and all the things, you know, the envy, the kama, krodha, lobha, moha, abhimanya, matsarja, all the things, right? So let's do that work. Let's not just like read the book in one ear out the other. How can we cultivate that on a daily basis and actually pray on a daily basis and recognize those qualities that are getting in the way of us being proper recipients? Oh, because they're there, okay? We have to work on them. Of course, chanting the holy name, reading, hearing, shravanam, kirtanam. Yes. And I I'm very much a fan of the introspective process and that connection that we each have with our guru and with the Shastra that cannot be just given to us by following everybody around and doing everything. It's revealed within our hearts. We have our own personal connection. And so meditating on that, like, what's in the way? Know thyself. What's truly in the way? Are you prone to anger? Are you prone to envy? Are you prone to lust? Doesn't matter. No judgment. No judgment. Okay, we're all humans. No judgment. We don't need the judgment. We're not, here to like self-flagellate or anything. But we are here to recognize with accountability and responsibility and to take action. And it's not like we're the doer, take action, but take action through that introspection process and that prayerful mood, that self-recognition of like, okay, here's where I struggle. And then confiding in our friends and even in the Shastra and getting support with the areas and the places where we're struggling. And I'll just say, since I was a teenager and reading the Bhagavad Gita and the Krishna book and Subjective Evolution of Consciousness and all of these wonderful books, Search for Sri Krishna, Golden Volcano, all these books I want to read more actually. The Chaitanya Charitamrita. Reading all these books, I always thought, wow, we have the highest knowledge. We have the most potent, magnanimous, abundant understanding. And it's so psychological and it's so spiritual and it's so scientific and it's so mathematical and it's so poetic and artistic and revolutionary and so traditional and it's everything. It's everything, right? This knowledge that we have, it's so full and complete. I always thought, wow, I wish it was like in a self-help format sometimes so that like the common people could really understand how helpful it can be when we have that kind of, in the new age kind of community, alternative community, we call it spiritual hygiene, right? Having spiritual hygiene, this mood of magnanimity, this mood of distribution. First, we have to become proper recipients and understand what is bottlenecking our ability to give and receive, to Shravanam Kirtanam. So we have to kind of identify those things and be responsible and have that spiritual hygiene and that self-awareness and take action. And again, I'm sharing from my experience, from my life in Krishna consciousness and the observations. Like I do spend my time thinking about these things. I do spend my time reading and having these conversations with friends that are not devotees, with devotee friends, with myself. And I think it's important for everyone to do that because that's how we personalize this experience and learn to cherish it even more because it becomes our bosom friend. This practice, this process becomes our friend. It becomes something that we're connected to, not something that you're easily going to give up on because there's not really a powerful connection to it. So the more we can really absorb this divine knowledge and the teachings from that perspective of like, where am I and what do I struggle with and how can I proactively listen and absorb and practice and continue meditating and working on the things that I feel heavy about or might be getting in the way. And so the more we kind of take on that mood, I feel, the more fulfilled we feel. And the more fulfilled we feel, the more we want to give this to others. And the more we want to give this to others, the more we increase our capacity to receive. And the more we increase our capacity to receive, the more we increase our capacity to give. And the more we increase our capacity to give, the more we are able to really be a part of this stream of Audarya, this path of Audarya. And you know how, I don't know if you've heard, right, how like Vrindavan is like the land of no entrance. You know, Goswami Maharaj, I've heard him say these things in his classes. And then Mahaprabhu's coming in this Kali Yuga, giving freely tickets to the land of no entrance. And, you know, last night after celebrating here in Purnima at the Sokel Seva Ashram, after, you know, so many months of not having a grand celebration, there was a little, there's a whiteboard, there was a sign at the front of the entrance, and it was a message from Srila Janardhan Maharaj saying like, welcome, and also everybody please wear a mask and some hand sanitizer. And when I saw that sign, it reminded me of that like, do not enter Vrindavan, but then on the night of Gaura Purnima, it's like, you're welcome to come in, but wear masks, right? It's like the doors are opening, the gates are opening, because that's the whole mood of Mahaprabhu, is providing shelter for the devotees and this umbrella under which we can chant and celebrate this Sankirtan movement. And honestly, it benefits the entire planet. So, yeah, this was the stream of thinking, and again, I'm sharing from my thoughts, my heart, and from, you know, the experience of really just observing self and observing the environment, and how sometimes, you know, Krishna, Mahaprabhu, our Guru Varga, they're always there, but it's up to us to turn to them. We can either be like over here, like being scarcity mode and like tripping out on like, you know, I, me, mine, that song from the Beatles. I, me, mine. Anyway, right? We can be there. And, you know, we can still have an I, me, mine, but it's like, I who serve the holy name, me who is a servant of the holy name, mine, like this vessel for sharing, you know, it's like, how can we reclaim selfishness, scarcity, and turn it around, repurpose it? We have to repurpose those things that are raw or, you know, a little too raw. And I remember Gurudev, when we were in Navadvip, in one of his darshans, and I was relating it to like my videotapes, he was saying like, if we have all this like raw material, it's going to take up so much more space, and it's going to fill up our space for the finer, subtle, like well-defined things. So in the same way, like all those floating thoughts and tendencies and unprocessed, undigested thoughts and emotions and opportunities for growth and introspection, they're very like, they're raw material, and they're kind of taking up a lot of the space. But the more we Chitta Darpanam Marjanam, cleanse the mirror of the mind and polish these same pieces like a sculpture, we're polishing, we're refining, we're etching, we're, you know, bringing form to the refined version of who we are, okay? Because we all have the raw, crude, you know, Kanishta Adhikari, but we're fortunate, but there's this kind of raw form of our potential, and then there's this refined form of our potential. And the way we get from the raw to the refined is this process of introspection, of cleansing the mirror of the mind, and really digesting and processing those things that don't feel so good, you know, and rather than being a helpless victim, because we are not helpless victims, we have access to the most powerful, like psychiatric, psychological, body wholesome, like it's this Krishna consciousness, this knowledge is complete, body, mind, and spirit. It's complete. We don't need anything else, right? And so when we can really work on refining those raw, crude elements and qualities and thought patterns and realign them, we have the tools to do that. We're not helpless victims. Oh my God, I suck. Like, I'm just not good. It's like, no, how can I be the best for my guru? How can I be the best representative? You know, it doesn't really help to dwell in misery or scarcity or fault finding within ourselves in a derogatory way. The reason we're fault finding is because we're striving for bliss and full potential. We're striving for full potential delivery and capacity. Like, we're here to fight a totalitarian war against Maya with song and dance. Okay, we got to be strong, we got to be complete, we got to be full. And so, you know, it doesn't help us to be like, oh, I'm not a good, whatever the story is. It's like, okay, cool. Well, how would you like it to be? Great. What are the steps you need to take to get there? Awesome. Let's do them together every day, right? And really, that to me is very inspiring type of association, right? The kind of association that inspires us to be the best that we can be and to feel satisfied and grateful for what we do have, and to also be grateful for the qualities that we recognize within ourselves that aren't really at their very best. And honestly, for me, it's very hard to be kind of in this like, you know, oh, if I sing nicely, I'm putting on a show, I think I'm better than everyone. Or if I dress nicely, I think I'm better than, I can't, you know, my nature is that I like to shine and entertain and give. So it's actually not healthy to dumb that down. It's not healthy to hide that. What's healthy is to refine it and put it more in the service, put it more in the fire of service, right? In the Sankirtan movement. So again, whatever skills, qualities, and blessings that you have, you know, put them in the fire, like refine those, offer them, and keep working on those. Because, Gurudev was very much about all of us having offerable skills and being integrated in society and in the culture and being thought leaders in the world. In the mood of representing him. And so we actually need all of us to be feeling happy and content and also sober and grounded and, with a good grasp on reality and the, sambandha abhideya prayojana, right? Proper acquaintance with the environment, understanding the process for getting there and what the goal is. And that applies to a wider spiritual concept, right, of what is this divine plane and what is the path of bhakti. But there's the macro and there's a micro, and then there's the micro, right? Here on earth, who am I? What is my goal? What is my means to that goal? We must understand what our means to that end is. And we understand there's sadhana, there's, sadhu, shastra, guru, the association of the devotees and all of that. And there's also this introspective process. I love the Dasmul Tattva. It's, it begins with a hankering, an inquiry. It begins with that yearning to, let's get excited about being the best that we can be. And another devotee that I really think about that's just such a great example of this mood of abundance and like paka presentation and doing like the best is Divya Shakti. If any of you know Divya Shakti Didi, oh my goodness, we missed her. She's so abundant, and everything she does so well. From her Didi Seva to her cooking makes the best khichdi ever, to the way she decorates, to the way she dresses, to the way she sings, to the way she dances. Like, this devotee is bringing the best that she can in everything that she does. And her standard is something to live up to. Like, wow. Divya Shakti is like this like almost like a Lakshmi Devi vibe, so abundant, and her smile is brilliant. If any of you know Divya Shakti Didi, you know what I'm talking about. And this brings me to another point that I was thinking about yesterday. Okay, looking at the time, is that the mood of magnanimity also begins from this mood of seeing all of the beautiful good qualities in the devotees around us. And so I was thinking about that yesterday too, and like going over everybody in my head. And what a special day. I intentionally did that because I know that the Sankirtan movement is living within the hearts of these divine personalities that live at the ashram and that come visit the ashram. And so I also began thinking about what are, like, today is a grand mahotsav. It's a feast, it's a celebration. And so the air is thick with blessings and abundance. And I am so gonna be a part of this. I'm so gonna partake in this mood of joy and celebration and magnanimity and seeing all the goodness. And you know, we have to keep ourselves, you know, we got to keep the high vibes, you know. It's so easy to get dark in this world. So the holy name is, and everything that comes with it is so abundant. And yesterday was like the personification. Like if the mood of Audarya could be like a festival, this is the festival, right? Gaura Purnima and the parikrama. And I hope that you all very much got to partake in the daily parikrama stories and traveling mentally through the Ethernet to all the holy places, because it's just as powerful. And if you didn't, I know some of the devotees are like still catching up on watching the videos. Be sure to watch some of the videos that have been running through, I'm guessing, this Facebook page and Bhakti Connect, because I think most everything that happens here gets transferred over there. Yeah, and read that book, Sri Navadvipdam Mahatmya. And just let's keep this mood together. Let's keep this mood of Gaura Purnima. Let's keep it going in our hearts, right? This Bhakti Siddhantavani, Vilasatu Hridi Nityam, Bhakti Siddhantavani. May this Bhakti Siddhanta Vani, this song, eternally play in your heart. You know, Gaura Purnima is like a boost, but it's our responsibility to also keep that going and to give that boost to ourselves by engaging in hearing and chanting. That's what we have, hearing and chanting, and I'm always going to be talking about this. It's a memory, it's a reminder for self. So, to close, yeah, I just want to, I see more devotees joining. Tarmoy, Dandavat, Gaur, N. Das, Stephen, Herman, Dandavat Pranams, Bartos, I hope, hey, I'm butchering your name, I'm sorry. Hello, welcome. And Prana Krishna's here. Chaitanya Ray is here. Raven, Vasudevan, Matavan, and Harivalava's here. Dandavats, and Stanley is talking about, yes, this year's giving a donation, seem to need things for self. Yeah, I mean, so you made this comment of a donation and it being misused. It's like, you know, what is misuse, right? Making a contribution towards something that has to do with sharing the holy name or their lordships or an offering, will never go misused. So, you know, yes, we have our personal needs for taking care of ourselves, but also even if you give $5, if you give $10, right? Just offering something every day, even if you buy flowers for a deity's, the altar in your home, it's just the act of giving and making an offering, especially on these special days. It's very auspicious. Oh, come to think of it, I wish I would have had a gift. Like on Janmashtami, we usually give gifts to the deities. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of see who was here, and thank you all so much for joining. I hope that somehow what I've shared here is inspiring, and that it maybe encourages you to, you know, stay on top of your practicing life and to not lose hope, not doubt yourself, and to reach out to a god brother or a god sister that you haven't reached out to in a long time. Think of one or two people you would like to talk to and make it a point to call them sometime this week and have a conversation. Ask them to tell you a story about Gurudev. You tell a story, or a story about spiritual life, or ask them how they joined Krishna consciousness, or, engage in some sort of Krishna katha, and train your thoughts and mind to be speaking of these beautiful things. Take the time for these beautiful things. We can be busy spinning in the rat race as long as we want, for lifetimes upon lifetimes. Oh, we will stay in that rat race forever. We'll be in that forever. Take some time out to speak about Krishna, to hear about, to ask questions, to converse with your god brothers and sisters. Like, pause. No one's gonna die if you take a moment, right? So take a moment to engage in something that nourishes your soul. And I hope somehow, if you're here and listening, that this inspired you in some way. So I would like to sing, before we close here, this song 216. If you have the 7th edition of the Kirtan Guide, I hope I'm on the right page, because this is kind of a little magical. The pages lead us somewhere else. Okay, yes, that does not go there. Okay, give me a moment. I'm gonna try to find this song. There we go. 130. I don't know why I looked at the different. Okay. So I wanted to sing this song because it is like a staple Mahaprabhu song, Gaura Purnima song. And I will read the description of the verse and then we'll sing. And I may or may not do call and response, but I wanted to share this song because I really love this message. This song is called Avatara Sada by Lochan Das Thakur. It's on page 130 of the 7th edition of the Kirtan Guide, if you have it. If you don't have that 7th edition, look for the song titled Avatara, A-V-A-T-A-R-A, Sada, S-A-R-A. Okay, so the first line in English: the incarnation of Sri Gaura is the most excellent of all incarnations. Why haven't I worshipped him? It is as if I was surrounded by water, but denied myself a drink, returning to my own fruitive activity. Verse 2. I chewed the thorns of the tree of worldly life and considered the blood that flowed through my mouth to be nectar. When offered the fruits of the wish-fulfilling tree of ecstatic love of Lord Gauranga, I rejected them, thinking them to be poison. I'm just going to interject. We all have to watch out for that all the time, right? Like taking that pause and engaging in something spiritual. And, what are we pushing away? And, paying attention to what we're rejecting and what we're embracing. And, always making sure that we're embracing the opportunity for engaging in Krishna consciousness and not rejecting it. Desirous of smelling a sweet scent, I sniffed at what I thought to be a fragrant flower. Alas, that flower was odorless like the palasha flower, and instead, an insect flew up my nose and bit me. It's kind of how I was feeling today. Thinking material life to be sweet like sugar cane, I tried to taste its nectar. Instead, it was like chewing dry wood. In this way, all my attempts at enjoyment were false. I was actually thinking about this the other day, how everybody's, I was just thinking about myself and my friends, and we were all getting together, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, every single one of us is here to like be some enjoyer and to enjoy, and we have this expectation of enjoyment. We're going to enjoy the beach. We're going to enjoy the sunshine. And then I was thinking about how when we don't have this expectation of enjoyment and we're just present to the moment with Krishna consciousness in the forefront, then we're not in that same kind of ocean of nescience, right? Of just being there to seek the enjoyment, but rather we're there to hold a different frequency and a different vibration, and to be more of how can we be a serving unit. And so, yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday, and thinking we're going to squeeze some enjoyment out of life, but really we're here to bring some enjoyment with some Krishna Katha and the remembrance of that. And I can gladly say yesterday I had a blast at the beach with friends before the celebration, telling everybody, I have an announcement to make. Today is Shri Gaura Purnima, and I told all the friends. It was great, it felt great. Okay, so next verse, and then we'll sing the song, and then we'll close the evening. Admitting defeat, wasted and worn out, I await the snake of death, declaring it to be cool and soothing. I have embraced the fire of material life, only to suffer intense misery, as if struck by lightning. Admitting defeat, wasted and worn out, I await the snake of death, declaring it to be cool and soothing. I have embraced the fire of material life, only to suffer intense misery, as if struck by lightning. Woo! Verse 5, last verse. Worshipping my family and my material life, I forgot Lord Gauranga and didn't listen to the instructions of the saints. Now in my final days, I realize I have died twice, for not only am I leaving this mortal body, but I am also dead while living, having wasted my life in material indulgence. So yeah, having grown up in a family of, Krishna consciousness, I wouldn't say I can necessarily fully relate to that, but rather this mood of, including your family, including everyone in the joy of what you experience in Krishna consciousness. We don't have to exclude our family. We don't have to, this is a different experience, right? These are saintly personalities that had to leave their materialistic families because they were not inclined towards spiritual life, right? It's like, say you love, going hiking and none of your friends do. So you're kind of like, oh man, I really need to be around friends that like to go hiking. So, right, like these beautiful saints were kind of like, I love bhakti yoga and no one in my family does. Like, I kind of have to leave that to be able to be in it. And so, we're here right now in this 2021, right? And we have the opportunity to actually welcome others into the joy that is Krishna consciousness, and to do so in a way that feels pleasant and that feels welcoming and that feels natural. And it doesn't have to be so difficult. And but I will say this is a true thing. It's like we're alive right now, but how can we make some spiritual progress while we're here so that we don't die twice and realize like, oh my God, when I didn't do any of the homework, I didn't cultivate any of the things that would have helped me on my spiritual path. And so don't let that be you. Take the time now to put some energy into your spiritual bank account, okay? Go invest some of your energy and let it accumulate there and accrue some interest and whatnot, and build your spiritual wealth. Like for real. Like, let's build our spiritual wealth. Like, it's very important that we do that, because that's the only bank account that's transferable to the next life and any other life and even the spiritual plane. So like, let's get invested in building our spiritual wealth, because that is the only bank account that's going to take us to the next level. So that we can even take with us, okay? So that's really important. If you're interested in wealth and money and success, get successful at building your material wealth as well. Or your spiritual wealth as well, not just your material wealth. Very, very important. And actually, I find that when that is like full and abundant, everything else is naturally abundant, like for real. Yeah, I'll just share one more little thing, is that yesterday I kind of had some guilt about spending a day on the beach with my friends because my mom was sick and, all the devotees were here, and I was like really struggling. I was like, I have this guilt. I feel guilty that I'm going to the beach. But then I remembered, wait a minute. And I had a great friend remind me too that today is Gaura Purnima. It's all about the mood of distribution. So go to the beach and tell everybody about Gaura Purnima. And because of that, yesterday, so many people got to hear the holy name and hear about Mahaprabhu and, relate the full moon to the rising and the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So back to that concept at the beginning that I talked about, dovetailing, right? We don't need to live with guilt and don't need to choose one thing or the other. How can we bring everything together? Bring it together, integrate it, integrate. The more you can adapt and integrate, the more masterful we can be at really living with a higher, consciousness, simple living, higher thinking. It's like bringing and integrating the Krishna consciousness into everything that we do. And that was really helpful. So if that's worth anything to you, awesome. Okay, so this song, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Kenana Bajili Dare, Kenana Bajili Dare, Karini Re Basa Gelona Piasa, Karini Re Basa Gelona Piasa, Apana Karama Fere, Apana Karama Fere, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Kenana Bajili Dare, Kenana Bajili Dare, Kanta Kera Taru Sadai Se Biliman, 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 Amrita Pabara Ashe, Amrita Pabara Ashe, Prema Kalpataru Shri Gauranga Amara, Prema Kalpataru Shri Gauranga Amara, Tahare Babili Bishe, Tahare Babili Bishe, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Kenana Bajili Tare, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Kenana Bajili Tare, Soda Berashe Palasha Shunkiliman, Shoda Berashe Palasha Shunkiliman, Nasate Pashilokita, Nasate Pashilokita, Ikshudanda Bhavi Kata Kushiliman, Ikshudanda Bhavi Kata Kushiliman, Kemone Pai Bimita, Kemone Pai Bimita, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Kenona Bajili Tare, Kenona Bajili Tare, Hara Boliya Golaya Pariliman, Hara Boliya Golaya Pariliman, Shamana Kinkora Sapa, Shamana Kinkora Sapa, Sitala Boliya Guna Pohaliman, Sitala Boliya Guna Pohaliman, Paili Bajaratapa, Paili Bajaratapa, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Avatara Sara Gaura Avatara, Kenana Bajili Tare, Kenana Bajili Tare, Samsara Bajili Shri Gauranga Bulili, Samsara Bajili Shri Gauranga Bulili, Na shunili sadudakata, na shunili sadudakata. Iha parakala dukala koyaliman, iha parakala dukala koyaliman. Kailia panamata, kailia panamata. Avotara Sara Gaura Avotara Kenana Bajilitare. Avotara Sara Gaura Avotara Kenana Bajilitare. Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari, Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari 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 Jaya Gaura Hari. Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari, Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari. Hari Hari Gaura Hari, Hari Hari Gaura Hari, Hari Hari Gaura Hari, Hari Hari Gaura Hari. Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana, Jaya Sachinandana Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandana Gaura Hari. Guru Deva Jaya, 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 Guru Deva, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev Jaya Jaya, Guru Dev Jaya, Guru Dev, Guru Dev, Guru Dev Jaya, Guru Dev. Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Saparshad Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshad Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Vrindavan Purushottam Dham Ki Jai. Shri Nishringadev Ki Jai. Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shri Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Shri Gaura Purnima Ki Jai, and the grain ceremony, the festival of Nimai Pandit. What a beautiful celebration today. What a beautiful celebration. All the demigods, all the divine personalities coming to see the Lord on his appearance day. Celebrating this beautiful full moon, Jai, and of course the Sokel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat worldwide Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, and Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol. So offering my Dandavat Pranams to all of the devotees who are here today. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope again that something I said was useful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the comment section below this video. If you have any topics you would like to suggest, please comment those topics in the comment section below this video. I will continue sharing every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And of course, Srila Janardhan Maharaj is continuing to broadcast every day. Tune in for the morning Chaitanya Charitamrita classes and more. And remember what you can do to keep your mind on track, to keep your life on track with this magnanimous mood of distribution and chanting. And I cannot wait to see you again next week. Thank you so much for being here. Now the deities, we'll put them to rest and we'll close the curtain, and the darshan time will close for the evening. And I will just say, just to give you some visuals, this temple here is so beautiful at nighttime. You can hear the crickets and you can hear the owls, and you can hear sometimes little birds singing at nighttime, and the frogs, and the air is so fresh, getting the ocean breeze, and it's such a beautiful environment here also, with the beautiful eucalyptus trees and the redwood grove. And you know, this land was stepped on by Srila Govinda Maharaj and so many illustrious Vaishnavas and personalities. This is an embassy of the spiritual world, and this is Gurudev's beautiful temple, giving shelter to the devotees and being a nama, like a little holy name hut. And the classes here are going on every day. Srila Janardhan Maharaj is keeping it lit, and it is such a beautiful, beautiful divine place. So it's our honor to be able to transmit live from here into your homes and wherever you are. And we hope to keep sharing more. Okay, Dandavat Pranams. Good night, everybody. And again, I'll close with the camera here on the deities so you can have some darshan. I'll leave it on for a couple more minutes, but we will be turning this live video off in just about a minute. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol Jai. Beautiful. Yes. Whatever we can do to share beautiful words, thank you so much. Dandavat Pranams. Good night, everybody. Tulsi Devi there on the altar. Oh, and this is the new outfit that Sharanangi Didi made for Gaur Purnima. So please keep looking, actually. I never want to leave at the end of these classes. Thank you so much to all of you for being here and that we can share together. Please comment. I actually really would love some suggestions for some new topics. I have an abundance of topics, but I'd love to know what you would like to hear. Please write in the comment section any suggestions you have for any following weeks, and I will be happy to come up with something and share. And if you have any questions, please comment below. Okay, everybody. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath,